Welcome to the 5 o'clock show. It's time for Common Sense. Now, it's Katz and Cosby with John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby, standing for truth, justice, and the American way, bringing common sense to the world. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Breaking news, WABC.
And tonight on Katz and Cosby, it looks like things are definitely heating up in the Mideast. President Trump, first of all, meeting with Lebanon, Israel pulling out of parts of Lebanon. That's a very big deal. And also in the last few minutes.
Is there something happening?
Well, that's what we're wondering. Although it looks like it's part of a peace deal, that part. But on the other side, John, President Trump came out and he said that there is evidence that they're moving nuclear material. That's what he's getting intelligence to this place called Pickaxe Mountain, which is deep buried. And he said, you could tell, he said, there's nothing they can do. We're going to go and strike it. So he's already pulling no punches and saying, we have information and we're going to be hitting it. And I'm telegraphing it now because Iran can't do anything. But any place that we see them moving, we're going to hit, and we're going to hit that site. So it looks like things are going to heat up pretty quickly, John. So it's getting interesting.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you. In the studio with us today, Judge Richard Weinberg. We have Senator Borrello from Chautauqua County.
Chautauqua County. George Borrello.
Good job. And Craig Eaton from Brooklyn County.
Yes, very nice, very nice.
And we're expecting, hopefully the rain didn't get him, we're expecting Governor Pataki to come stop by and do a show with us. And
we got a great show.
It's been a big rain.
Oh, it's been a dreary day.
Oh, my God. It was coming down cats and dogs.
Oh, my God. It is pounding the air pressure. I don't know about you guys. My head feels like it's about to explode, but that's a whole other matter. It's like the temperature is just, it's too much.
Now, let's go. I mean, we got the former Brooklyn County chair here, Craig Eaton, and we have your former chief executive of Chautauqua County, and now a state senator.
Did you see he wanted to say that again,
and,
George?
Judge Richard Weinberg. Well, what's going on locally? I mean, we're waiting for the governor, but what's going on locally that you think that people should know about, Senator?
Well, you know, you speak about local, and what the governor really has been doing is taking away local control in so many ways. She did that with this data center ban. By the way, as we talked about, I think on your show, she actually did this by executive order. Even though the legislature signed this, passed, I should say, a law to do a 1-year data center ban, she decided to do this as an executive order so she could change it at will. And she's already done it. She's already made an exception for the new Micron facility that's going up in the Syracuse area. So this is her way of wielding power for what will benefit her politically. So we start talking about what's going on locally, we're losing more control.
Are you saying Micron made the contribution and then she changed it?
Surprise.
The senator would never say that.
Right.
No, senator would never say that.
No, he
Talk
wouldn't.
show hosts say that.
Yeah, but not the senator.
That's right. So if I were a talk show host
The truth
today,
is-
can I say it? Does it say?
Yes.
The truth is, I don't know what the truth is.
Yeah.
So I'm joking. I joke around, but I
Right.
don't.
Yeah.
We don't know. But you know what's interesting? Washington Post, did you see? They had a scathing critique of her,
Yes.
saying that it's hurting New York, it's
Yes.
hurting America.
It's hurting national security.
But what's
You're
interesting-
giving an edge to China.
But
Yes.
it's from Washington Post, which is sort of an unlikely source to see that.
Give me my nitroglycerin tablet.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you know what? It's all about the election. It's not about anything to do with the state or the government or what's better for the citizens of the state or city of New York. It's all about winning re-election. She's going to do anything and everything she has to do.
Well, every candidate does that.
Yeah, I agree.
Craig.
I agree. No, I know, but
to do it at the expense of New Yorkers.
I know.
Yeah, that's
I know
Good point,
Governor
Senator.
Hochul. She's a nice lady, but everything is fun in love and war. Is that what they say?
Yes.
I
Yep,
mean,
fair,
and
right.
it's going to be
Fair and fun.
Okay, and this is going to be a tough thing. You know, Bruce Blakeman wants to be governor. Kathy Hochul wants to stay as governor. And it's going to be a tough race. I think it's going to be close.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. I think that there are more and more people understanding that the quality of life here is declining here in New York State. As you walk around New York City, the governor and the mayor are trying to tell you that crime is down, but people aren't feeling that way.
But there's a different definition of rape. Did you see that?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So many things. Yes, it's very Orwellian to see them changing the definition of things. They're trying to lower the bar for themselves. And that's really the shocking part. But
Mostly peaceful demonstrations. Yeah, mostly. The burden.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think New Yorkers are fooled. That's really what it comes down to.
By the way, can we talk about New Jersey too, you guys? Because this is a big deal that just happened. That Mikey Sherrill, the governor there, is acknowledging that hundreds of non-citizens voted in New Jersey elections since 2023. And she says that there were 6,000 that were wrongly added to the Garden State's voter rolls, and that 400 about non-citizens voted. What do you make of the timing of this, George?
I don't know why we don't recall. I don't know why we don't recall the vote. The governor's vote last year. I mean, Jack Chittarelli was a good friend of ours, was a great candidate. We should do something about that.
Yes,
recall.
Wait! Don't we have special music come on when the governor walks in?
Wait, do we have a Hail to the Chief New York version? Do we have that? Maybe we have applause at least. Hang on, we have applause. We have applause. Hang on. There it is. The crowd's going crazy.
Thousands of people cheering.
Governor George Pataki is in the studio.
He's in the house. We're so happy to see you, Gov. It's really, really wonderful.
You're lucky I don't have a mic. So.
Yeah, well, I will say I'm jealous because look how tan he looks. Like, you guys look tan.
Well,
you guys
it's
look great.
Nice to be back. Thank you for that kind welcome.
You look great. You look
now, we're talking about all the things going on in the state, in New York, New Jersey. What's on your mind, Governor?
I'll tell you, I'm concerned. This is the greatest city and this is a great state, but year after year after year of things just not headed in the right direction, ultimately, they take their toll. So I'm concerned, but, as you all know, I'm very much an optimist, so there's always hope. It's not a failing of the people, it's a failing of the leadership, and hopefully things can change.
Yeah, what do you make of the data centers? We were talking about that with Governor Hochul doing this one-year moratorium. I mean, it's crazy.
It's the future, and it's either going to happen in America or it's going to happen in China, and it better happen in America. And you've seen states like Virginia have tremendous economic boost because of the data centers that were built there, and certainly upstate New York needs an economic boost. And I understand the concerns, particularly about the massive use of power, but you could just require them to have their own sources of power so that they're not going to drive up other costs. But that's not the path. So we'll see where we are in a year. And hopefully at that point, people will take a look and say these are going to be good for America and for New York.
We were talking about New Jersey. Did you see this about non-citizens, that it was 400 non-citizens?
New Jersey is such a mess. It almost makes New York look good by comparison. It's really kind of sad what is happening there. And I heard Craig Eaton's comments just as I was coming in. And, people run saying one thing and then govern doing the complete opposite. And I fear that's the case in New Jersey, and it's just unfortunate for them.
One of the things also that we'll talk about later with Professor Dershowitz, you guys, but the DSA, we've been talking about, there's been a little bit of a fracture, but it's a very minor fracture, as we were talking about. We can count them on one hand. John Fetterman, right? You got Donovan Richards, who came out the other day.
Cuellar from Texas.
Yep, and Cuellar from Texas. I'm trying to think of who. Carville is not even in the mix, but he's outside.
Gottheimer from New Jersey.
Gottheimer from New Jersey.
Have we gotten to 5 yet?
That's it.
Oh, how about Josh Shapiro?
No, he's sort of been back
and forth.
He's been a little waffling. Yeah, he's waffling.
I'll tell you, the Democratic Party has serious existential issues. Are they going to be the traditional liberal, centrist liberal party, or are they going to be a far left, anti-Israel, basically anti-American party? And that future is not decided yet. So I think they have a very real problem.
I went to a cocktail party in the Hamptons, in Bridgehampton, over the weekend on Sunday. And there were a lot of Democrats there. And Jerry Kramer, who used to be Ways and Means in the State Assembly, is determined to bring the Democratic Party back to the normal Democratic Party.
Well, he was chairman of that committee when I was in the state assembly, and he's a Democrat, obviously, but a very good guy. But I appreciate his efforts, and hopefully he succeeds. But the energy, particularly among the young people.
And you know who he was addressing standing next to him?
Who was that?
Speaker Hastie.
Yeah.
And
interesting.
I don't know what Hastie's doing. Are you following? Who's following Hastie?
Well, I am following what's happening in Albany, and the assembly, in my view, has been awful. We have the no bail law. We have the inability to lock up people who will shoplift from the same store 20 times and be out on the street the same day. And it's been the assembly that's blocked any sort of reform of this. And it's just really unfortunate for New York. And, it's so hypocritical. Oh, isn't it awful how expensive everything is? By the way, we're going to allow shoplifting. We're going to require extra security, but we're not going to arrest anybody. But we're going to blame you for the fact that things are expensive when, in fact, it's their failed policies that are driving up the cost of everything.
And all the rent controls and all the rent regulations. How do you deal with the issue of supply and demand? We make it economically unfeasible to maintain your property.
Well, they have a simple solution, which is government.
Take it over.
Government housing,
over.
And look at how well the public housing in New York has gone.
It's a model for the nation. Model for the nation.
Violation after violation. No one wants to live there unless they have to. But that's their solution: more public housing, and it just hasn't worked anywhere in America. And it's not going to work this time either.
What about some of the vitriol? I'm curious, all of you guys, what you think. And I'm on the flip side, as we're talking about some of those guys, you've got also the extremes. You've got Hassan Piker, too, who was out talking to college Democrats the other day. You got Bernie Sanders, who was there with Abdul al-Sayed and AOC. And they literally came out and said, this was an amazing moment. They said at the rally, "We are coming for you, establishment Democrats. Like, your day is gone, and we are coming for you." I mean, when you hear that kind of rhetoric, that's a pretty strong. They're not even like holding back and masquerading it. What does that mean to you? What do you think, George?
Well, look, the Democratic Party used to be the party of the working class, the people that who felt that this is a party that was uplifting and supported them. Now they've become this aggressive, angry, violent group of people. The DSA nationally, I just saw a statistic. They have about 120,000 members officially nationwide. How are they running the Democrat Party? This is the tail wagging the dog. And and just like every other horrible dictatorship throughout human history, it starts with a small group, and then good people don't do anything. And that's the moment the Democratic Party is in right now.
Yeah, and to the governor's point, they're taking all the oxygen. You're right. By percentage, they're very small, but they're also a very vocal group. And they seem to be getting, big crowds with the young people.
More than vocal, because I don't know if you follow, but the Wisconsin Democratic congressman,
yes,
who said he voted against aid for Israel, even though he supports Israel, because of the threats.
Yeah, Adam Smith.
Yeah, the
yes.
the fire that was set in his driveway, the threats to his family. So he caved in and voted against what he believed because of coercion. And that is not a democracy. That is something where you have an autocracy of the powerful and the violent. And I think that's what a lot on the far left would like to see in this country.
That's why Golden, the Democratic congressman from Maine, decided not to seek re-election because of threats to himself and his family.
And that is absolutely part of their plan and their model. They're intimidating people.
AOC a few years ago threatened all of the state senators and state assemblymen that if you don't come on board with her and the socialism, that she was going to primary you. And she did a lot of primaries, although the good thing is she wasn't that successful, but it's that threat, that fear that she puts in the elected officials' heads that if you don't come on board, we're going to primary you, we're going to take you out. And that elected officials don't want to get taken out.
Right. Well, how about on the night, I think it was Chevalier who won in New York. Do you remember the image of Hakeem Jeffries came up on the TV screen?
Yes.
And they all shouted in the crowd, "You're next, you're next." Yeah. It's like this lynch mob mentality, which is really frightening.
It's particularly scary since this character, Piker, Hassan Piker, thinks that Mao Zedong was one of the most important political figures, governmental figures in history, and what a wonderful guy he was. How many millions of people did he exterminate?
Yeah, very frightening. They're honoring the wrong people, that's for sure. Well, you guys...
Well, we got to move on and see what the heck is going on in the rest of the world. Forget about Chautauqua County.
Well, I thought
twice. He got it right twice now. I like that, John.
Three times.
That's right.
Well,
Let's go to KT McFarland. Bring in KT.
All right, KT. Former Deputy National Security Advisor for President Trump, KT. So much going on today. President Trump meeting with Joseph Aoun, the president of Lebanon. This is a biggie.
The reason this is a biggie is because Lebanon, very much like Gaza, Lebanon has a government, a civilian government. It's elected by the people. But the government of Lebanon and the military of Lebanon don't have a lot of power. What they've done is they've had to be sort of subservient to Hezbollah, the Iranian military that's taken over much of Lebanon. And so by President Trump recognizing the president of Lebanon, getting an agreement, Lebanon saying it wants to work with the United States to defeat Hezbollah, that's a big deal. Prior to this, Hezbollah has had free reign over Lebanon, and the Lebanese officials and the government have been just too terrified and too intimidated to do much about it. But now that you have Lebanon joining this new alliance with the Gulf Arabs, Israel, the United States, against Hezbollah, against Hamas, and most particularly against Iran, it's a good step. Now, what does it really mean? Well, it won't mean a whole lot unless Hezbollah is decimated, unless Hezbollah is completely defeated. And I keep thinking back to, okay, so where's all this go? How does this end? You know, the United States, and we had tried to negotiate with Hamas in Gaza. We tried to work with Israel to destroy Hamas in Gaza. And it didn't really take until the Gulf Arab countries said, okay, Israel, okay, the United States, we're going to work with you to destroy Hamas, to get that cancer out of Gaza and away from the Palestinian people. And I think ultimately that's what has to happen in Lebanon. We have to work with our allies in the region to get rid of the cancer, which is Hezbollah, so that Lebanon can be free. And then ultimately the cancer that is the Iranian Revolution, the IRGC in Iran.
You know, by the way, the other big news, KT, is this Pickaxe Mountain that President Trump came out and a reporter asked him, you know, are you hearing this, that you got this intel that they moved centrifuges, nuclear centrifuges from one site to Pickaxe Mountain? It's this other site that wasn't hit in those earlier strikes. And he said, I know about that. We're going to hit that site, and there's nothing that Iran can do. He's like, I don't care if I'm telegraphing it. It shows how much superiority we have, but we will strike there. Where's this going?
I mean, this goes as we destroy Pickaxe Mountain, the same way we destroyed all of the other nuclear weapons facilities that Iran had. You know, we control the skies. We control what we destroy, what we don't destroy. They have no effective defense against anything the United States wants to do. And so while people say, well, there's no Iranian agreement, they haven't signed on the dotted line, well, we have gotten rid of their nuclear program. And if they try to rebuild it, whether it's in the Natanz or whether it's in Pickaxe Mountain, fine, we just bomb it again. Let them spend their money on it. We will destroy whatever they try to do to get to a nuclear weapon. So a nuclear centrifuge, if you think of a salad spinner, you know, when you put a wet head of lettuce in a salad spinner, you keep spinning, and it spins off all the water. That's what a centrifuge is. And so when Iran says, oh, well, we only want our centrifuges for civilian use, that means they only want to spin the centrifuge, you know, to get most of the water out. What they really can do is keep spinning that centrifuge to get to the point where they have what's called highly enriched uranium, which is bomb-grade uranium.
And we also have former New York Governor George Pataki here.
Hi, KT. Nice being on with you. Switching back to Lebanon again. One of the key changes, and one of the reasons I think the president of Lebanon seems to be far more willing to work actively with the U.S., is what happened in Syria, where Assad was overthrown, a new government is in. We had real doubts about the new leadership, but apparently that seems to be working well. How confident are you of the stability and the friendship of the new Syrian government?
You know, you're so right to point this out, Governor, because when the new Syrian leadership, so Assad leaves, and then it's kind of chaos. Nobody's sure who's in charge. And then the Saudis, Deputy Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, came to President Trump and said, look, there's this new guy in Syria. I think you should trust him. And Trump and everyone said, well, wait a minute. He was a terrorist before this. Why should we trust this guy? He's going to be just as bad as Assad. And the Saudi prince said, no, he is going to be a different kind of leader. Trust and work with him. So Trump said, okay, I'll give this guy a chance. And it's really paid off. We have worked with the Syrian government to really eliminate a lot of the terrorists who were operating freely in Syria. And so the model, think of the model. Okay, so there was Gaza with Hamas. Hamas is more or less gone. We're now working to help build the Gaza Strip, help the Palestinians. We the same thing in Syria, working with the Syrian government to help rebuild them, keep the terrorists out. And then now Lebanon, which is really the final piece of all of this, of the countries that surround Israel in that part of the middle part of the Middle East, working with them to say, okay, Hezbollah. Hezbollah was that's the crown jewel in the IRGC's assembly of terrorist proxies that they've used. So if we can do to Hezbollah in Lebanon, and as we have done in these other countries with Syria and with Gaza, that would be a really great thing. Why? Because it would leave Iran completely isolated and alone. No proxies, just Iran, where we can, at will, destroy targets in Iran.
Judge Weinberg.
KT, what about the Houthis in Yemen? What about that?
Yeah, I mean, so the Houthis are in another part of the region where they can fire on ships in the Red Sea. The Red Sea is not as important a maritime transit route as the Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf is, number one. Number two, the Houthis survive because Iran pays them. Same way that Iran pays Hezbollah, provides its weapons, it provides its funding. But as Iran is getting increasingly stressed economically, they're cutting back their funding for these proxy groups. So what's going to happen in Yemen? I'm not as concerned. I mean, obviously one missile going at any maritime, whether it's an oil tanker, whether it's a commercial vessel of some other sort, that's not good. But I'm not as concerned about the Houthi threat as I am of figuring out how to finalize, finish the job, if you will, with Iran.
Well, now that's good to know. So what do you think, where do you see this going, I guess, in the next few days or few weeks? A lot of people, the sense is it's going to heighten.
Did Trump say or not say, well, there are some indications we might be talking?
Yeah, he says that, but then on the other hand, he says we're going to go strike Pickaxe Mountain. And so do you hear both ends?
Well,
haven't you heard that story before?
In other words, he's going to keep hitting him. He's going to hit him every day. But he's willing to talk.
Yeah, and that's the amazing thing. That's a good point, because he still said we're open, but you know what? For now, the ceasefire's over, obviously.
The reason Trump is a good negotiator is that most times if you have a ceasefire, they break the ceasefire, then they break the ceasefire. But the minute that we're talking to countries, well, we stop the military action. Trump's using military action at the same time as he's having negotiations. I think what we're seeing, and this is to John's point, is that we are negotiating. We're negotiating with the civilian leadership of Iran, the parliament, the speaker of the parliament, the president, etc. We're negotiating with those guys. We're not negotiating with the IRGC. And those are the guys that really, I think they could probably control Iran, but less and less and less so as time goes on, because they're the military part. That's what's being destroyed. That's what's being defunded. And the more we can drive a wedge between these two groups, the better, with the ultimate idea. I mean, to me, the best solution to Iran is continue with the attacks against Iran's military capabilities, maybe start working on assassinating even more of their IRGC leadership, but having a slow-rolling Iranian coup where the civilian leadership that we're talking to increases their position and power, and the IRGC is less and less important over time.
You know, KT, I want to go back to something we had yesterday when we talked to Admiral Robert Harwood, who was Deputy CENTCOM. He brought up an interesting thing with all of us. He brought up about these bounties. He said they should start putting bounties on the head of all these IRGC, especially the leadership. And also, here's X amount reward if you give us where a major missile site is or a headquarters, or so either the U.S. or Israel could take it out. What do you think of that?
I mean, it's a great idea, and because the Iranian leadership is a fractured and divided leadership. That's not a strong leadership. And giving people incentives to turn in IRGC leaders or point to where the military sites are, first of all, I think we probably already know all of this stuff, or if we don't, Mossad, the Israeli intelligence service, does. I'm sure the Mossad knows exactly the top, let's say 500, 2,000 leaders of the IRGC are. they've stayed their hands so far and have not gone after them. But ultimately, how did we get rid of Hamas and Gaza? Because we killed all of Hamas leadership, or Israel killed the Hamas leadership. I agree with the Admiral. I think we should be looking now at the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth tier of the IRGC leadership until we find somebody who wants to do a deal.
I think this is a day-to-day process. You're not going to be able to predict if it's going to be 1 week or 2 weeks. It's a day-to-day process. Trump is determined to keep hitting him every day until they say, "Uncle," and that's all you can do. It's just keep, because you can't allow this. It looks like you can't. He was willing to make peace with them, but you can't allow these people because there's no peace with these people.
Yeah, and they're attacking American troops. I mean,
you've got to put a different regime in charge. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, KT, but the mullahs, they got to be out.
Mullah's got to be out. The IRGC has to be out, and then hopefully the civilian leadership that we are talking to will be the ones that we can do a deal with.
And they have to have, and the civilian leadership has to have a strong army.
Yeah, and by the way, KT, did you hear what the one of the, I think it's the foreign minister today, this was troubling, who's supposed to be one of the more rational ones, said, we can't wait for American troops to come. We're welcoming them, i.e., this is not, he's not exactly.
But the Speaker of the Parliament's called for the assassination of Trump.
Exactly.
So, and he's the moderate, reasonable guy?
But he's the guy we're talking about. Look, these are not nice guys, okay? And Iran does not, it's crazy and crazier. So we're talking to the not quite as crazy guys as the IRGC. We're talking to the guys who may potentially decide they'd prefer to live and survive and take a, quote, poison chalice than the guys who are just itching for martyrdom. And they're going to all say a lot of stuff. But the reality is the people who are saying, we want to assassinate Trump, et cetera, those are the guys we're still talking to.
I know, which is shocking. I know. Listen, I give Trump a lot of credit. He's trying, he is trying every which way to make this work, which is extraordinary,
I think John's right, though. Day by day by day. Eventually, they'll be worn down.
There's no nuclear scientists in this thing. Right now, we got to wear them down, and that's it.
Yeah. KT, thank you very much. Really great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, KT.
Thank you. And
see you Saturday, KT.
I think she hung up. She's already on her way there. Okay. When you get an offer like that, she's already on her way there.
So lovely breakfast.
It is. You guys, we're going to take a break. And then
we go to Arizona.
Arizona, big night there, big primary.
Big night in Arizona.
A common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Cats and Cosby on 77 WABC.
By the time I get to Phoenix, she'll be rising.
Well, it's a little slow, but I love Glenn Campbell.
We all love Glenn.
But it's going to be fast action tonight in Arizona.
Let's go to Arizona. What's going to happen in Arizona?
It's going to be a biggie. There's a primary tonight, John. Arizona GOP Chair Sergio Arellano now joins us. And Sergio, you guys have a big primary tonight. Somebody we've had on the show, Andy Biggs, I know, is in the hopper. He's got a big primary. Fill us in. Give us the lowdown of what to look for tonight.
Yeah, hey, salutations from the Wild West, right? Arizona.
Although you haven't been to New York lately. We compete.
Wilder.
I'm telling you, we need an OK Corral in New York as well.
We do. We do.
Well, hey, so today, Arizona Republicans, we're going to elect a solid slate to go up against the socialist machine we have in Arizona right now, especially under the leadership of Governor Katie Hobbs, right? So the voters in the Republican primary, we have all these great choices, and I have faith that we will be going into November with a group of candidates and Republicans that independents and Democrats that aren't insane will support. At the top of the ticket, you have Andy Biggs in a primary with David Schweikert. Andy is projected to be the winner, but obviously anything can happen in an election. And so we're basically gearing up here in the state party. We have outraised the Democrats 2-1 as far as fundraising here goes under my chairmanship. And then all of the groundwork for victory has been implemented. We have a roadmap for success. and we're trying to beat the Democrats at their own game, which is the ground game.
Sergio, how big of a deal would it be? I mean, that would be amazing if that seat, Katie Hobbs is a Democrat, if that could flip and becomes a Republican. That would be a biggie, right?
It would be phenomenal. It would be huge. Just because we lose our races here by 3%, people consider it a purple state, but it is a red-leaning state. It is Republican. We just have to be able to harness and stop fighting within, stop the division, and go out and collaborate and bring it together. Top that off with corrupt Katie Hobbs under investigation for corruption. I mean, it's ours to lose.
Wow, that's a biggie. By the way,
so what time did the polls close?
Yeah, what time? And what time should we get results?
Oh, man. Well, at least we're not like California, where you're going to have to wait 30 days for the outcome of an election.
We're still waiting on one of them.
Oh, my gosh. It's such a headache out there. We have more stringent laws in Arizona. You'll probably see a good feel for finality by 9 p.m. tonight, Arizona time. Polls
so it's
closed.
midnight. So you're going to still be on the air about...
It could be coming in. I'm on 10 to midnight here on the Rita Cosby show late at night. So we might squeak it out. What do you think?
I would love to be the first one to call in and tell you our victories.
Well, give us a call. Give me a call. We'll give you our number afterwards. That'd be great.
I would love that. Our polls do close tonight at 7. So pretty shortly thereafter, we get all the early onset ballot results. The turnout is okay for Republicans. We're beating the Dems, but it's a primary. So, we just got to see where we were lacking support and turnout and then just drill down and motivate our people to come out and vote. So, yeah, we're excited.
Now, before I let you go, we were talking about this earlier, Judge and John, was Ruben Gallego, Democrat of Arizona. Oh, my goodness. It's like, first of all, he was Swalwell's friend, remember? We're all nodding here. And then now he's accused of having all these like inappropriate relationships. I see a headline about him every day. What's going on with him?
That's par for the course here for him. He's the liberal media, though, unfortunately, doesn't cover that. They'd rather try and cover some old news and try to throw Andy Biggs under the bus as opposed to really covering what matters. I mean, Gallego is on thin ice. Ethics have been filed yet again on him. So we're just going to use that, capitalize on it, and we got to build towards that. We got to build towards taking him down. He's a fluke. He shouldn't be there. He's also failed us as a senator and as a representative in Arizona. He's a weak man, and, it's unfortunate, but we got to continue highlighting it, and mediums like yours really help project and get the voice out.
I'm glad we are. We also have former New York Governor George Pataki with us.
Hello, Chairman. Nice being on with you. I'm going to be a little bit of a devil's advocate here. As you said, Arizona leans red, and yet you have a Democratic governor, a Democratic attorney general, 2 Democratic senators, and it's because the Republican Party has been split. We've had essentially a McCain faction and a Trump faction. We have a primary tonight. What are the likelihood that the party will come together behind the nominee so that we can, in fact, win this very important election and put ourselves in position to win back those seats that we've lost in Arizona?
Governor, it's such an honor to be on this call with you. Thank you for the question. We are riding a wave of unity here in Arizona. The way I was elected this year came through broad support from all coalitions, from all factions. So we're leading by example in Arizona, and I'm encouraging every leader, every assembly chair, every county chair, so on and so forth, to continue leading by example and set forth the discipline that we need to come together and win. We've united the opposing factions to come together. The organizations like Turning Point, AZGOP are working hand in hand. We're collaborating. We're sharing data. This is stuff that hasn't been done in the past. But I am known for doing the impossible, and we're going to do what seems to be impossible, and we're going to win.
Well, call in at 11:45 to Rita tonight, and we wish you luck.
Amen, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Good luck. Thank you.
And now the top news of the day.
Sponsored by
Goya Foods.
It's the top news of the day, sponsored by Goya. Here's Rita Cosby.
And here are some of the big headlines, guys. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is testifying on Capitol Hill about the cost of the Iran war. Hegseth is joined, and this is going on right now, by Joint Chiefs Chair General Dan Raising Kane at the hearing before the Senate Appropriations Committee. The hearing concerns President Trump's supplemental funding package to cover the cost of the war in Iran and other emergencies. And we can all feel the crazy weather, but it's nothing compared to what's going on in Florida. Tropical storm Bertha is beginning to turn west as it lashes parts of the Florida Panhandle. The latest update from the National Hurricane Center puts the storm about 90 miles southwest of Panama City, Florida. And we'll keep you posted on that. And guys, those are the big headlines. Coming up, we're going to talk to Professor Alan Dershowitz. We're going to talk about Netanyahu and Mamdani saying he plans to arrest him. And why is he saying that? Well, there is also a senator who's coming out and saying he can't do that, and we'll explain why.
We're commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now, here's John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby, and everybody talking about Zohran Mamdani, the mayor, doubling down, saying, we're looking into options about maybe arresting Netanyahu. And this is so interesting, Judge, because now there is a Democrat, it's a state assemblyman in New York who's saying...
He's made it very, very clear that he believes it's a violation of state law. It's abuse of office by this mayor to direct the police to make an arrest of a particular individual. And that'd be very, very interesting to see if you try to make that move, what happens next.
That's an interesting point. So let's go to Professor Alan Dershowitz. Professor, what do you make of this? Could there be some overreach by him, that there could be some penalty even for suggesting it?
We are looking into that, not only state violations, but federal violations.
Civil rights laws?
By threatening a prime minister. The purpose is to keep him out of New York, to keep him away from the UN, which would be obviously to violate U.S. Foreign policy. So we're looking into possible federal criminal prosecution, which I think the Trump administration would be very interested in pursuing if we could find it. And if anybody out there, lawyers, can help us look through the federal code and see whether or not this would violate federal anti-civil rights law, conspiracy to violate the civil rights of an individual. Doesn't have to be a citizen of the United States. He can be somebody invited to the United States by either the Trump administration or by the United Nations. And of course, there is this state law that says you can't target people and tell the police to investigate them. By the way, I had, as my research assistant, she helped me write a book, Jessie Tisch. And I haven't spoken to her about this, but I can't believe that she would actually enforce an order by the mayor to violate the law and to arrest somebody who's here under the protection of an American treaty and American law. So, he's just blowing air, but he's doing it in a way that could backfire on him and could result in him being in violation of criminal law. The other thing, of course, is it would be really easy for us to do, and we're exploring this now, to get an injunction, a federal injunction against Mamdani, having the federal court say you cannot arrest the Prime Minister of Israel because you, the mayor, have no authority to interfere with the United Nations. And by the way, how many war criminals have spoken at the United Nations? I was there when Ahmadinejad spoke. He was a war criminal. Virtually every Iranian who has ever spoken at the UN has been guilty of war crimes. And, of course, many in other countries, in China and Sudan and you name it, Russia, have been guilty of war crimes, and none of them has ever been threatened with arrest. The only person threatened with arrest is the Jewish prime minister of Israel. Look, Mamdani and his wife are both virulent anti-Semites. Yes, anti-Semites. They do not like Jews. They don't like the Jewish nation. Now, of course, they're going to say, but we like Brad Lander, and we have a few Jews. Hitler had a few Jews he liked, too. Mussolini had a few Jews he liked. Some of my best friends are Jews is the first statement an anti-Semite makes. Mamdani is an anti-Semite. His wife is an anti-Semite. The mayor of New York, the city with the largest Jewish population outside of Tel Aviv, is a virulent anti-Semite. and his focusing on the prime minister of Israel to the exclusion of every other prime minister is a sign of international anti-Semitism. You know, anti-Semitism doesn't only have to be directed at an individual. It can be directed at the only nation state of the Jewish people in the world. That's international anti-Semitism, and he's guilty of that.
Judge Weinberg?
Alan, so what do you think about Secretary of State Rubio saying he wants to dismantle the International Criminal Court? What are your thoughts about that?
Look, I was a big supporter of the International Criminal Court when Luis Ocampo, the great first prosecutor, headed it. I actually went over there at his invitation. I spoke to the prosecutors. I've argued 3 cases in front of the International Criminal Court. Right now, either there has to be a change of leadership. Khan is a rapist. He has been credibly charged with rape. His immediate assistant is prepared to testify. And if that leadership maintains itself, then of course there should be efforts to dismantle. Now, the United States and Israel are not members of the International Criminal Court. Neither is Russia, and neither are some other countries. So, you know, it's mostly a paper tiger. But the idea that they can issue arrest warrants, and remember, this guy, this Khan, this rapist, he issued the arrest warrant. I had a deal with him. I was doing the negotiation. I had a deal with him. He was going to Israel. He was going to meet with the prime minister. He was then going to go to Gaza and investigate for himself. Then he gets charged with rape, and he immediately calls and says, no, I'm not going to Israel. I'm not going to give him a chance to respond. Let's just issue the arrest warrant.
That's his cover to protect himself.
Yeah, I have evidence. Direct evidence, that he did that to protect himself. And he did it because he was told that if he issued an arrest warrant against Israel, he's going to get a lot of support from a lot of the countries in the ICC. So the ICC has become very much like the International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice, of course, is not international. It's not a court, and it wouldn't know justice if it fell over it. It's the United Nations Court, which is not a court at all. The ICC, the International Criminal Court, had promised of being an actual court, but then they appointed these thugs to be prosecutors. Not only this person, but the one before him as well. Biased and political and ideological, and they've destroyed any chance that the International Criminal Court has to have credibility. So, no, I don't think the International Court
Senator Borrello,
anymore.
you wanted to say something.
Yes, Professor Dershowitz, this is State Senator George Borrello. And hi. It appears that at the very least, or at the very most, I guess, is the mayor is thinking he's going to somehow use the NYPD to enforce a state law. This is not only not within his purvey, but the fact of the matter is that the governor, the attorney general, there isn't a law enforcement official in New York State that would actually challenge him on this. That's the problem. They're spineless. The governor needs his votes. So what would be the charge again at the federal level? Because I think that's the only way we're actually going to get any kind of.
That's the only place we'll get. It would be there would be a lot of things. We're looking into it, but it would be a violation of the civil liberties, the civil rights, the human rights. A conspiracy to violate rights. And remember, to have constitutional rights in America, you don't have to be a citizen. The minute that a prime minister comes to the United States, he has constitutional rights. He can't be arrested without due process, all of those things. And so we're looking into it. We're at the earliest stages, and I want to thank the assemblyman for coming up with the idea of state law. But you're right. There's no way Bragg or Letitia James are going to go after their friend Mamdani. But I can imagine a U.S. attorney looking into this and finding a violation. If he can see that the purpose of this thing was to try to discourage or deter or frighten a head of state from coming to the United States, that could clearly be a violation. But look, we have to look into it. I don't believe in making quick decisions without thorough research. We're going to do the thorough research, but I think we will find some basis in federal law for prosecuting him, particularly if he persists in threatening it. And look, I know Bibi since he's 25 years old. Bibi's not going to be threatened. He's not going to be deterred. He's going to come. And I'm going to walk with him down the streets of New York as one of his lawyers. So he's not going to be threatened. But the idea that a mayor of New York can make a decision to threaten. Look, what Rudy Giuliani did was the right thing. When Yasser Arafat came, he told Arafat, "You're not welcome here. You're not welcome here. We don't want you sitting in the Metropolitan Opera or at Lincoln Center. You're not welcome here." But nobody's threatening to arrest Arafat. Arafat was a major criminal. He had so much blood on his hands, and he spoke at the United Nations with a gun at his side. And of course, nobody threatened to arrest him, because the only reason Mamdani is doing this is because the prime minister of Israel is Jewish. And he knows that he has a lot of anti-Semitic support among his supporters, including among Jews.
Yeah, sadly.
Look, Brad Lander and others like him are the worst anti-Semites. They're the kind of anti-Semites who in 1932 voted for Hitler. Jews voted for Mussolini. And so,
that's why we all have to stand together. We all got to stand together against hate. I'm telling you. And keep us posted what you discover, too, also, Professor Dershowitz. Please.
Of course. Yeah.
Please.
And thank you for publicizing it. And anybody who has any suggestions, just, write to me at Harvard Law School and let me know what your suggestions are.
Bravo.
And I'd be happy to follow up on them.
Bravo. Good. Professor Dershowitz, you're the best. Keep up the great fight.
Thank you.
You're such a hero. Thank you so much. And you guys, let's go to the State Department. We have Tommy Pigott, State Department spokesperson, joining us now. And Tommy, let's pick it up with what Judge Weinberg was saying, that Secretary of State Marco Rubio came out and said maybe there should be a dissolving of the International Criminal Court. Talk about that.
Well, fundamentally, this has to do with America's sovereignty. We have a court, an international criminal court, that purports to have authority over the United States, which it does not, which is targeting American service members. It is threatening Border Patrol agents. It's threatening ICE agents, people that are doing their job to defend our country. And we're also seeing threats against elected officials in the United States, truly outrageous things. So the Secretary having a clear message here that if the ICC continues in its effort to threaten America's sovereignty, that we will see an effort to stop that. We will see an effort to dismantle that. We will see an effort to protect America's sovereignty. And to quote the Secretary, the ICC, if it continues to threaten America's sovereignty, will see the full power, the full measure of American resolve.
One of the other things that he came out with, talking about how Cuba is undermining America from within. What are you guys seeing?
Well, we have that report that was just issued from the State Department that really puts all the evidence out there. And much of it is public information. Astonishingly, many of these far-left extremist groups are proud of their relationship with the Cuban regime. So this report is taking bits and pieces here and there and fully presenting the story of the decades-long influence and espionage campaign that we have seen from the Cuban regime. And one powerful example, we see one group, the National Network on Cuba, issuing what they call a rapid response plan that includes the location of U.S. military bases and ICE facilities, calling for agitation and resistance. And that's one powerful example of this network that we're seeing, where the Cuban regime acts as the nexus and the node of a whole network of far-left extremism. And I think the broader context of this is also important with that ministerial that we held at the State Department last week on the resurgence of political terrorism. We are seeing a surge of far-left terrorism in this country and worldwide, with far-left terrorism accounting for more anti-government attacks and plots in the United States than any other ideological group. So we're seeing this surge, and at that ministerial, the Secretary citing Cuba as a main supporter, the Cuban regime as a main supporter of this type of extremism.
Yeah, that's a very big deal. New York State Senator George Borrello, your thoughts?
Well, at the end of the day, the left has been talking about, white supremacy and everything else. So, all these things that have really been, they're trying to go after, the right. Now, at the same time, now they're trying to protect these, these people that are really trying to undermine America in general. So I'm glad there's finally going to be a little bit of admission that there's an issue here. Wouldn't you say?
Well, it's long overdue to make sure that we have looking at this broad issue. I mean, as the Secretary described in the ministerial, this has been a real blind spot in terms of our counterterrorism strategy that we've seen as part of having a necessary counterterrorism strategy. We have to address this. So it's really been a blind spot from previous administrations, and we are taking action to make sure we address that blind spot. So it is definitely overdue in terms of addressing it. It's also a serious threat that we face, so we have to address it. And when it comes to this report from on the Cuban regime, it's all transparently there for the American people to see for themselves. It's well cited. It's transparent. and it lays out the full story. And this is an ongoing and pressing threat. As recently as 2023, we had a man that was charged on espionage-related concerns in regards to the Cuban regime. So this is an ongoing threat, and it's something that we take very seriously.
One more question. Is the current Cuban regime trying to make a deal with our government?
Well, the president has often said the Cuban regime should make a deal before it's too late. And we're seeing a series of actions from the United States. One of the things that we're seeing announced today, for example, was the first delivery of assistance to help the Cuban people, but not going through the Cuban regime, going directly to the Cuban people through Catholic Relief Services, making sure we can help people in need. And it's a humanitarian disaster on the island that is a result of the regime's own making, their own incompetence and purposeful mismanagement. As the secretary says, the only thing worse than a communist is an incompetent communist, and that's exactly what we're seeing regarding the Cuban regime. So the president's been encouraging them to make a deal before it's too late.
A few weeks ago, I had the Cuban ambassador came to our WABC studios and recorded a message for everybody, and I will forward you that message.
Well, we'll definitely keep an eye out for that, and the secretary has spoken to this, but ultimately the president wants them to make a deal before it's too late, and we're seeing a pressing humanitarian disaster on the island because of the incompetence, purposeful incompetence, and the policies of the Cuban regime.
Understood. All that is understood. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and let's hope for peace. Let's hope you guys make a deal. I mean, it's up to you guys.
Well, and it's up to the Cuban regime as well. So we're continuing to have those policies, and
well, the president, my understanding is the president always wants peace. So let's see what happens.
That's 100%. We want peace and we want prosperity.
Yes.
Yep, let's see where it goes. Tommy,
thank you so much.
Tommy, it's great to have you again. Thank you very much. And you guys, let's go for an update on the war and what's happening militarily. Let's go to Blaine Holt, retired U.S. Air Force Brigadier General, also former U.S. Deputy Military Representative to NATO. And General Holt, we love having you on. How do you read what President Trump is saying today? He was talking about it sounds like things may be escalating. And then on the other hand, he says they're also talking.
Well, I mean, the president's willing to talk to anybody, right? So if you want to talk.
By the way, he did say he would talk to Hezbollah. He was asked about that today. If you needed to talk to the leaders of Hezbollah, would you? And he said, absolutely. That was an interesting comment.
Yeah. So it's too often times people think if you're talking to your enemy, you somehow capitulated to them. But actually, you're really not going to get anywhere until you have some sort of dialogue. It's just that it's the Iranians who have placed themselves in this unexitable box of disingenuous behavior. And the president is not, he can't help them. The president can't help them. They can talk all they want. But really, all they can talk about now is their unconditional surrender because they can't stick to any deal. So nothing that they would do would be worth the ink it's printed on. So what we're going to use is that talk time to break the back of the IRGC, put them so vulnerable, which they're almost there really, that you can have a revolution subsume them, and then we'll have a new government, and they'll be very friendly to the United States, and we'll work on a whole variety of really great issues for everybody's best.
What about going after Pickaxe Mountain? And by the way, we also have with us here former New York Governor George Pataki. And Governor, you have a question for Blaine Holt.
Yes, General, thank you for all you've done for our country and for the world. You just said that the IRGC, I forget the exact term, but is weak and is nearing collapse. Is that truly the case? Is there really hope that through this military and economic warfare, we're going to be able to get rid of the IRGC?
Yeah, absolutely. Governor, their money has dried up. The Iraqis did the masterful final stroke of uncovering billions in money meant for the proxies. The blockade has been very effective. Scott Bessent has dried up all sources. And then we get to the weapons. The logistics are failing because our intelligence is indicating to us which caverns we have to blow up, which missile stocks to go after. And the besieged headquarters and indeed their own command and control and ability to even talk to each other is hanging by a thread at this moment. And so, as long as somebody's got a gun, they're dangerous. As long as somebody's got a shoulder-fired drone, they're dangerous. But less and less, and we are seeing a great pickup in the amount of ships that are safely getting transited. And so this This is not about hijacking a revolution. This is about a baton pass and aiding and abetting a revolution. It's going to be ugly for a few weeks, I would imagine, but I firmly believe we're on the right track.
Well, I hope that would be great news, indeed, if that's the case. General Holt, we love you. Thank you. It's really great to have you here. Thank you, General.
Love you back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And, John, we're going to take a quick break, and then we have...
Oh, Senator Joni Ernst. We're going to go to Iowa. I'll take that one.
I knew you'd take that one. That's a good one.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Well, let's go to the great state of Iowa. And with us today is Senator Joni Ernst, a military person that became the U.S. Senator, and she's got a lot of things on her mind. Senator Ernst, tell us the things that you feel that we can do to help our country.
Well, there's a number of things right now, John, and thanks so much for having me on. I am currently working on a package of bills that we hope will advance in the Senate very soon. It's an anti-fraud package. And Senator Thune came to me as the chair of the Senate Doge Caucus and as someone who's worked on these issues for nearly 12 years. And he said, Joni, I want you to put together an anti-fraud package. So I have 21 of my colleagues that are co-sponsoring this package. And we have a number of different bills that are included. But what we're focusing on is recovering stolen funds, and returning those dollars to our taxpayers, protecting the taxpayer dollars to stop fraud before it ever happens, and stop fraudsters and hold them accountable. Every day, John, that we don't pass this bill, we are losing $1.4 billion to fraudsters. Every single day, John. That's not a week. That's not a year. $1.4 billion a day.
That's a lot of money. A lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And what items that you think that the taxpayer is getting ripped off on that really gets your gut?
Well, there are some really bad ones out there, and we've even seen scams, and I have outlined a number of these in my small business committee, but we have had actual members or employees of the federal government that work for the Small Business Administration. They have been going on social media platforms, and they have various pyramid schemes that they use, and they have been able to recruit people through social media to then turn in false applications and claim grant dollars from the federal government, and this Small Business Administration employee would sign off on it and get her cut as someone who's promoting these programs. So it's all fake stuff. They're all grifting the federal government to the tune of millions of dollars. Now, the great thing is we've caught a lot of these employees, and we're able to take them to court. They are being held accountable. But because of this anti-fraud package, we will have visibility on even more of those grifters and able to recover those funds. So again, we're losing billions of dollars every single day, that $1.4 billion every single day. And that, at the end of the fiscal year, it amounts to about 10% of our federal budget that's being grifted away by these scammers.
Also, the other thing that we talked about that's on your mind, our National Defense Authorization Act, because with all the money we're spending, the Pentagon needs more money.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know we have this ongoing operation in the Middle East. It has cost us more, of course, with various platforms and munitions. So they are running short on money. So it's important that we do a bill here very soon that will add additional dollars into the Department of War's budget. We call that a supplemental bill. We would like to see that done very soon. And then we also have the National Defense Authorization Act in front of us. We have passed that out of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and I have a number of key wins there, making sure that we're expanding child care access for our military families. I've got a bill that was included there. We're advancing peace through strength with an Arctic defense provision that directs the Pentagon to really focus on military partnerships with our Nordic allies, and then advancing the Pentagon's path to a clean audit. That's really, really important. Those are some of my key wins. But again, we want to make sure that we're standing up for our service members, and important for me, supporting Iowa's critical role in our national defense.
Understood. Now, we lost a very good friend last week. We lost our United States Senator. And were you close to him?
I was, John. Lindsey Graham was one of my dearest friends in the Senate. And it's hard because I come into the Senate now every day. I anticipate I'm going to see him. I'm going to talk to him. I'll call him. We'll grab dinner at night. And he's not here. So it was just a shock to the entire Senate, and I miss working with him. We had so many different initiatives. Of course, he was a fierce advocate for our men and women in uniform and for the work that we're doing around the globe, trying to bring greater peace and prosperity to certain regions. He was a wonderful friend to the President of the United States, and we all miss him so very much. He was an incredible patriot. He had a lifetime of public service. I know South Carolina is going to miss him, but as a personal friend, I will miss him and do miss him so very much.
Is his sister or his daughter at all that's going to be running for re-election?
Yes, and his sister Darlene, she was very young when their parents passed away, and so here we had to, he was a young man, she was a young girl, and he ended up raising her, and he did end up becoming her guardian so that he could give his military benefits to her. And because of that, she had a much better childhood because of his willingness to sacrifice and serve in our armed services. But she is an incredible person in her own right. The president has encouraged her to run, and she has accepted that challenge. So we do hope that Darlene Graham Nordone will be elected to the United States Senate to carry on Lindsey Graham's legacy.
Senator Joni Ernst on a Tuesday night, thank you so much for calling in, and we'll catch up with you again real soon.
You bet, John. Thanks so much.
Wow, great interview. And it's going to be interesting to see with Darlene Graham, the sister of Lindsey Graham. She came out last night and said she's going to run. What do you think of that, George? It's interesting.
Well, look, I think, what I've heard is that she was right by his side through this whole thing.
Yep.
But again, let's keep in mind one thing. She has the backing of President Trump, and that clears the field. I mean, I was listening today. He basically, when it comes to Senate and the House of Representatives, he has a 100% success rate for people that he's endorsed. So that's a powerful thing, and that needs to be strategic.
And Governor Pataki, what do you think real quick?
Well, I think what Senator Borrello said is right. I knew her when she was at Lindsey's side all the time, and she's a very good person. And whether or not Trump can clear the field remains to be seen. But either way, the Republicans are going to win in South Carolina. Iowa and other places are the places we have to be concerned.
Great points. And John, what do we all stand for?
Truth,
justice, and the American way.
God bless America.
And we join Levin in Progress.
Thanks for listening to Cats and Cosby with John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. You can hear Cats and Cosby weekdays at 5. It's the 5 o'clock show on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?